Welcome to the Pinelander Podcast, the official podcast of Pineland, broadcasting to you from an undisclosed location deep inside Pineland, where we discuss faith, family, finances, firearms, freedom, food, and everything else in between, with those who believe in living free and living out the values that made this country free.
Hello, everybody. It is the Pinelander Podcast. My name is Paul LaFavor. I'm here with my Ranger buddy, Mike Blackburn, and today is Friday, the 8th of July, 2022. We just celebrated the 246th anniversary of America. God bless America. I'm here with two other friends that Mike and I have brought into the undisclosed location.
Brought him into the G base. And they've been facing out, pulling security, and so we've got, I think, a great podcast planned for you. We've got two American warriors here, barrel-chested freedom fighters, two guys who were on the same ODA back in 2006, 2007, off of ODA 371. I want to welcome Scotty Hawkins and Dave Miller to the Pinelander Podcast. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys having us.
Yeah. What's awesome about this is, they can't tell fibs. Because the other one was there with me. It's like, no, man, that didn't happen.
Right.
So we're going to get the real deal here today.
We've been together long enough. We got our story straight.
That's ridiculous. It's been rehearsed.
We can tell each other's lies.
That's true. When you get older, they're like, I thought it was two guys. Yeah. Now it's eight guys?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, blame it on senility.
And what we're trying to do is basically, I ambushed these guys. I said, hey, I've got this great idea, and we're trying to do a series with these teams in combat and a way to pass on the lessons learned to the guys coming through the pipeline, and also honor the guys that we fought, and some died alongside us. And so basically, we got to talking about that, and I said, hey, what better way to talk about your experiences to have you both come on? And so they agreed. But what we wanted to do is just give them a platform. They've got a great story. We just want to hand it over to them. So, guys, there you are, 2006, 2007. We're in Afghanistan. I believe you guys are in Nangarhar province. And then your ODA 371, found its way going to Schwack the Taliban in a place called Tagab Valley. Yeah. So if you just launch off, man, however you want to do it. I don't want to stymie you.
Well, I guess the basis of the mission was one of the last, holdouts of the Taliban in that area.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah.
What we were told. And so I was level 3. We had 2 level 3s on my team. I was one of the level 3s. And so we were given the task to start developing that area to start pushing these guys out, because there was a PSYOPs team, I think, that had gone in there. No way, this was a bad place. Yeah. Heavily anti-American place, PSYOPs team went in there and just got handed to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so started gathering some information, developing that.
Hey, on that note too, Scotty, is what a lot of people don't understand is Green Berets have to develop their own target sets.
Yeah.
So you don't get a lot of low-hanging fruit and they go, hey, here you go. Here's all this national level stuff just kind of thrown in your lap.
No, it's more like, we're kind of wondering what's like going on over here, and maybe you guys can go out there and figure it out.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things to me about the job, is that, it's not handed to you. It doesn't come from the top down to you.
That's right.
Yeah. It goes. You're in there.
It.
You're it. Yeah, you're it. You go out there. You get your information, turn it into intelligence. Go out and you act on that intelligence. Nobody else does that.
Yeah, not everybody can do it.
And not everybody.
It's awesome.
And the guys that are trying to do it can't. I mean, how long has SF been doing this?
Yeah, 70 years.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But man, yeah, that was one of the coolest things ever to me about the job. I didn't have to look for another job. It was the perfect job for me.
Yeah. So you're doing the SF thing. You guys you got your con up approved, which can be tricky.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well, when we started developing it, it grew legs, and came, got the attention of the battalion commander, and kind of became a battalion mission because we had 6 teams that ended up going into the valley because it got that big. Nice. 3 teams from the north and 3 teams from the south.
Wow.
And
Plenty of work.
Yeah.
And there definitely was, and we didn't know because once it got to that point, we were given a deadline. You're going in on this day.
Yeah.
When there was still plenty of development that needed to be done.
And this was a hot time too, 06, 07.
Yeah.
If for our listeners, this was the wild, wild west of Afghanistan. You had a lot of the big army was kind of drawn down, and it created a vacuum. And in that vacuous space, the Taliban were just having a good time, and they were flexing their muscles. I can't remember all the names of the guys, but you guys probably do. But this is basically, SF. One of the things we do is you have a few amount of guys facing off to a lot of enemy, and you can quickly find yourself in that situation. And then, so this was hot. It was a hot time.
And this was exactly what you're talking about right there. Is one of those things that just develops because our 3 teams from the south, and like I said, we were talking offline. I was like, this is so cool for me to do because I've been wanting to do this for years with Dave.
Yeah.
So he can fill in those holes for me that, I've forgotten, all the multiple TBIs
And vice versa.
All right, what am I missing, Dave? Help me out here.
Hey,
but we got set. The teams in the south got set before the guys in the north reached their point there.
Yeah,
so this is one of the lessons learned for me that I'm always trying to pass on is complacency. Mm-hmm. And we kind of got complacent, because we've been hitting dry hole after dry hole after dry hole there, and so we were staged, ready to go, waiting on the guys from the north. We had our outer perimeter set with our guys, and it wasn't long before the Kevlars come off.
Complacency started. Yeah.
The vest comes off, weapons go down. You got guys on the guns, on the main guns and everything. So me and the Delta, we're having a left-handed rock throwing contest because we're bored. Guy on a motorbike comes by, rides through. Guys stop him, shake him down, nothing on him. I'm like, nothing. And turns out he gets through, and he was a scout. They had an ambush set up for us because once we got set, I don't think we drove 500 meters maybe.
It wasn't far at all.
And it started raining RPGs.
Yeah.
And
crazy thing.
And I think Dave remembers this part better than I do because he was in the gun and I was in the TC seat of the vehicle.
I was in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
Of that RPG.
Yeah, he was on top of the top of the vehicle in the turret, and I couldn't see. And next thing I know.
Well, what was crazy about it was, no American presence here, right, in this valley. And I'm looking at this. We're driving by, and I looked at this Kalat, and it had the mud walls. And then all of a sudden, it was Hesco's. I'm thinking these guys robbed a truck and finished their compound off with stolen Hesco's. And about that time, I heard the pop and the hiss, and I see the smoke trail. Here comes the RPG. Mm-hmm. And luckily for me, it landed short. Wow. And of course, I cringed, bracing for impact for the explosion. It didn't explode. It bounced off the ground and skidded, went right over my head. I saw the fins on it as it was going over my head. I braced for an explosion when it was going to land on the other side of me, and it didn't detonate. So today's my lucky day. And then it was on after that. Yeah. The gunfight was on after that.
Yeah. RPG after RPG, and Dave returning fire with a 50. Positioned the vehicle. I swung out with a 240, returning fire there, and just.
So about this time, that's like you're starting to put the helmets back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to make sure it's like, hey, I think we got some action.
Maybe. Yeah. Does it happen? Is this it?
I think this is it.
Yeah.
And it was a baited ambush. It was an L shape, and they were wanting us to. And of course, the regular Army guys, the TTP was you take contact, you hit the throttle and get off the X. We stopped, turned and fought them. Yep. And of course, after we took care of these guys, we had a lull in fire. Then we started taking fire from the main effort. Was waiting, they were getting frustrated because we roll into
you
that.
didn't do what you're supposed to do.
Right, exactly. So
Another
It's a good thing you didn't get off the X.
that's
Yeah.
right.
It's a good thing you
'cause it
didn't
was
do it right.
We've run on the X before out there.
it was textbook. I mean, it was like they had the SUT manual.
Wow.
You know, and we're reading it was textbook because they, like Dave said, it was a baited far ambush.
Wow.
And if you looked at the terrain, it just showed it right to its choke point.
Wow.
And that's where the second ambush was laid in. And
Yeah, the other accounts of stuff, I just got to talk with another team today, 336, and they noted there was a similar type of Taliban recce TTP, that you had a guy on a bike, a motorbike, dirt bike, whatever, and he's just kind of, milling about, but really kind of checking you out, and so yeah, a lot of that, and I've heard that so many times. It makes sense.
yeah, that was the recon.
Yeah.
You know?
Somebody with some nuts that did that.
Yeah.
And then I remember, and I didn't want people to not get this, is prior to the deployment, I believe, Scotty, you were the guy that brought Dave on the team.
Well,
That
goes,
was a good little story. I wanted to make sure we got that.
that goes back to the beginning of
Yeah,
2003.
Yeah. Okay.
We went through the Q course together as well.
Yeah.
So nobody gets to say anything bad about Dave Miller unless it comes from me.
Yeah.
Because I've known
Same
him
here.
longer.
Yeah, I have too.
And we get through the Q course, and a guy that was on my Sage team told me, hey, this team's got an opening for a Charlie. Go over and talk to them, and I did. They had an opening for a Bravo, and so I drug him along with me as payback for everything he did to me in SEER school.
Yeah. And we won't go there right now.
Yeah.
But
And so that's after. So Dave and I have been together through the Q course, got to the team at the same time. Dave went to McCall as an instructor about a year before I did. Being a level 3, the sergeant major was able to hide me out for an extra year on the team. And then so when it came my time to go to be an instructor at McCall, Dave was like, all right, come on.
I snagged him up.
Yeah.
Brought him out there with me.
So then, turnabout's fair play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
But, going back to, like I said, it is like, they had that SUT manual. And
Yeah.
reading that, it was SUT for dummies. Set up the far ambush, set it up like this, set up, they had it. And then, just standing there going toe to toe, fighting with those guys.
Yeah.
And once we got fire superiority, sent a squad of dismounts through there, cleared the buildings, sitting back, making our next move, and we started receiving fire, from what was now another far ambush.
Wow.
And
you guys had ANA with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we had they were called ABP, Afghan Border Police back then.
Okay.
And it's a name that the border police could have heavier weapons than regular Afghan police. So our guys were able to have cruisers, stuff like that, whereas the police just had AKs.
So you had 20, 30.
Yeah, maybe 20,
something like that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe
That's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a slice of those guys, and then so you've got them. You had maybe like one SF guy with 5 or 6 of those guys or something like that.
Yeah, too. When we had to do that, we would, that whole SF thing.
So when this went down, how did they perform? How did that go?
Well,
I mean, because you're spending a lot of time with them. You're trying to get them
Yeah.
prepared. You're trying to, you've kind of gone through this in your head 100 times, and of course now it's game time.
Well, here's one of those places where Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, because once we finished that one and we looked at the terrain and got those guys taken care of with the help from a lot of Carl Gustavs from Greg, and we said, well, we can't go down there. We don't, it could be IEDs, this and that, and everything. So let's just bounce over to the left side of the valley. We'll continue forward. And as soon as we did that and moved another 500 meters, it was another gunfight.
yeah.
And all they did was shift over, because down in the middle of the valley, there was like a wood line, and that's where they're hitting us from. And so, again, gain fire superiority, dismount with some guys, sweep through the wood line. And I took those guys, and this is where, like I said, if there's anything different.
No, I was on the turret. I was in the turret. I was stuck in the truck, so I didn't get to dismount. So.
And when I took those guys through the wood line and cleared it, they were awesome. I mean, it was like the best squad you could ever hope for. They just, I was the squad leader. This was my squad. We got on line and cleared that wood line.
And doing the same stuff that you guys have taught people out at SUT.
Yeah.
Same old stuff.
Basic infantry.
Yeah. So I don't know if some guys
Battle
are
Drill
like,
1 Alpha. Come on, man. Do we still do that?
yeah. So because you have so many.
I thought it's all sexy stuff at SF. I mean, you guys are doing battle drills.
Yeah, you have so many guys that say, "Hey, why do I need to go to SUT?
That's right. Why do I need that?
Why do I need that?" But then again, that's the baseline for every team.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
That's what we do.
You think about everything all the sexy stuff, like you said. What's the basics of it? The ambush. If you can set in an ambush, you can set in any operation because it's all got the same.
That's true.
It's all got the same
assault.
stuff. All this, support, assault, security. It's all there.
It's a good way to test guys too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Did you guys have a minigun with you?
No,
that was early on. We didn't have a.
7.6 had one up in the north.
Yeah, I mean they were in country, but we didn't have one.
Yeah.
So one of the teams that was coming from the north had one, and
But Carl Gustav's pretty cool.
That was way before OEF property. We had to take our own guns over there, crew serves and whatnot, and bring them back. Well, I want to say that trip was when the OEF property started because the team, I'm not going to mention the group, the team that replaced us, the group that replaced us, didn't send a PDSS because there was no guarantee to get home for Christmas. You know how many Christmases we spent over there? You know what I mean? So kiss my butt. Anyway, so they didn't bother bringing any
Healthy rivalry going on.
belt-fed weapons. So I had to sign all my guns over to them, and I was mad because I had rebuilt some of those guns and got them.
I don't think you were the only person that kind of went through a situation like that.
Well, I'm sure a lot of them did. Yeah.
I've heard that one quite a bit.
But so you had the NA component. You had basically on your team, what do you have 12 guys, 13 guys?
No, we had less than that. We had like
Okay.
8.
never had. Yeah, we
never
never
had 13.
had.
Never had a 13.
Yep.
Might have been 8 or 10 of us.
So then you had 3 team trucks, 3 gun Vs, and then you had Hiluxes,
Range
galore.
Rovers.
Okay, gotcha.
Hiluxes and Defenders.
Yep. Okay.
And that was before armored vehicles. We were all soft armor, no doors, soft skin vehicles.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were fortunate. I think we had chicken plates for the guns. But
Yeah, chicken plates and sandbags in the floorboard.
yeah.
You guys were going old school.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Give up.
Sandbags on the floor. I remember that.
Yeah.
Those are the days.
Man. When you could roll on a 5W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no con ops, no nothing, just 5W. All right, go get them.
Yeah.
You know,
Those are the days.
like you
Well,
said,
yeah,
the Wild West.
the days of high adventure.
Yeah.
So there you are. You're on the X. Did you gain fire superiority?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, like I said, like we were talking before, all the things that you wished for, we had. We had CAS above head. We had fast movers. At night, we had Spectre. We had gunships up in the north. A64s. Everything in that valley. It was everything you could ever want. That day, we dropped. When we cleared the wood line, we dropped, or was it the next day?
I think it was the second day.
Second day.
Yeah.
And one of those days we dropped.
No, that was after the second ambush. So it was the first day. So we hit the
2
first ambush. It was,
See, this is where it all starts running together.
Hey, when one isn't enough.
we went to the far
One is
side.
none and
we
two
went to
is
the far
one.
side of the valley, and then we got in another ambush.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at was when we dropped the 500-pound bombs.
Yeah.
We dropped 3 of those out there. 2 detonated, 1 did not, and that was.
Well, you got to imagine too. By this point, the Taliban are very prepared for this. They've kind of figured out the tactics. They kind of figured out the way the modus operandi here. I mean, these guys are probably dug in pretty well, and
They know they can shoot.
this is their valley. They've been controlling it. They've been prepping with the the walls and everything else, knowing you guys are coming eventually.
They know they got 30 minutes before aircraft come on station, and they got 30 minutes to shoot us, and then they take off, go to ground. So,
Hey, did you guys were you able to catch the chatter?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some people may not have known about that, but can you just kind of elaborate on that? How we were able to kind of pick up?
Yeah, I mean, it was real easy to know what's going to happen next because you can hear them talking about it.
Because they're talking in the clear. They're talking on the clear on walkie-talkie.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd pick it up. You use your interpreter. You pick it up. He's like, yeah, they're doing this, they're doing that.
Doing that.
Gotcha.
Well, that second ambush or third, whatever, however you want to count them, we got the ICOM chatter when they were in the wood line, and they were coming up. They're hunting us like birds. Move, leave. And so that's when we're like, okay, we know we've got them, and that's when we sent the squad dismounts in there to clear the wood line. And once that was cleared, we fell back to our position, and then we started taking fire from a building, and that's when we started dropping bombs on the other side. Because there was a guy sitting across there was a dry creek bed in the center of the valley, and there was a guy sitting there watching us, and I can tell you how far he was because he was 725 meters away from us, because we saw him and we're like, this guy has got balls of steel. We're just sitting here going all these rounds, and this guy's not leaving. What is up with this guy?
He's a spotter.
He was a spotter.
Yeah.
And so we started taking rounds from this building. And so our medic started hanging smoke rounds to mark the building for CAS. Well, we couldn't shoot the guy because he didn't have a weapon. Mm-hmm. So I called Wins for AJ, and we just put a round above his head in the tree, and he got to moving then. He got the message.
You heard that thing snapping. You knew what was
and then it was just, and this is where it gets fuzzy for me. Everything really starts because we were in the valley for 10 days, and every time we moved, it was just another gunfight.
I mean, we're talking within 100 yards from our Ron site. We slept there that night, and we went to move out within 100 yards of taking off. We were in a gunfight. They were there the whole time, while we slept. You know what I mean? In a compound, obviously, but that's when they put the Gustav round over top with the proximity round.
Yeah,
that was end of fight.
Wow.
Yeah,
and you guys also had F-18s. You had fast movers, and you had maybe Apaches.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we had
garden variety support.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was when we did get that chance to sleep at night or whenever it was, the Spectre was overhead loitering.
Yeah.
And you could tell when they went off station, because I would wake up and you didn't hear that.
Yeah, it felt a little uneasy then.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh. And then the next one came on. Okay, I'm good.
Go back to sleep. Yeah. As long as you can hear that hum, As long as you hear that thing humming above you, you're good to go.
Yeah. But that was, like I said, and that's where I was hoping Dave could start fill in some of this for me, because after that, it was just like, I don't know.
I mean, it was pretty much the same thing every day. I mean,
so you had a run and gun battle for over a week.
Yeah.
And then you had, do you have take any casualties?
We didn't. I don't know how.
No,
I don't know how we didn't.
Well, that's miraculous.
It was because I've still got the picture of Shafiq was our A&A first sergeant, and a round went into the vehicle post right by his head, like an A-pillar.
Yeah, I've got a picture of that. And that was right after we left the Ron site.
Wasn't his time.
Wow.
What were some takeaways from this 10 days? I mean, because I'm just picking up a couple things, okay? Yeah. One of the things that I'm picking up from as you guys are describing this thing is sort of combat patience. Sort of, letting kind of things develop a little bit, not rushing in, kind of seeing what you got, and then executing, a well-planned, well-rehearsed battle drill or whatever to do what you had to do. Yeah. Is that?
Well, some of it was pretty, let's go. I mean, it was that quick. I mean, we knew where they were, and we knew it was an ambush. You're still rolling in on an ambush, but you
guys weren't trying to take the valley in one day.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it just developed. We didn't know what kind of a hornet's nest we'd stirred up.
Mm-hmm. So this was reconnaissance and force.
Yeah. Kind of feeling everybody out there.
Yeah.
They're kind of feeling you guys out too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Movement to contact, reconnaissance and force. And I wanted to get this out too about your detachment commander, your team sergeant, kind of how they work together and how they split the labor up and made that happen. Anything you can draw out of that?
They were good together. The team sergeant, we had a strong team sergeant.
Yeah.
Real strong.
Yeah, we got it. Super. Because we had a bad one before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so he
and a bad team sergeant, too.
And it would have been really different.
Kind of had a poison well, and he had to fix it.
Yeah. And they did. We got a great team sergeant, a great team leader too.
Yeah.
Mac was awesome in a way that, you know, Dave and I being senior members on the team, it wasn't just his way or the highway. It was like, hey, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
You know, pulling the guys in and going, all right, what do we do now?
Nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I imagine after you guys run, right, at the end of each day, you guys are circling the wagons. I can kind of envision this. And then your team starting getting around, kind of your seniors kind of getting up, getting an ace, checking all your guys, basic stuff.
It was patrol-based activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a resupply come in, drop right into the center of our run site.
Wow.
I mean,
it was perfect.
every other day.
Spot
And
on.
your run is like probably a big circle of about 100 meters diameter,
Yeah.
something like that in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Something
wide
like
open.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because,
That's
because it's
about standard.
Yeah.
Yep. And then just like team guys interspersed with the Afghanis.
We had our 3 gum trucks, and then we had, actually, we had a team attached to us also from the same battalion. And they sliced off, they had 3 vehicles also. So we had 6 US vehicles, and then we had our complement of Indige.
And that was 7.6?
no. Well, 7.6 was in the north.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
Jim
Nate
Sawyer.
Whitfield. That was, did I say they were Charlie Company? I think they were Charlie Company's guys. I can't remember what company. He ended up being my company commander later on down the road, but he was the detachment commander. Nate Whitfield was his name.
Okay. Yeah. So you had. So I imagine the whole impetus for going in there was just to clear out the valley. I mean, we've done a lot of these. Just kind of go in, clear it out, take the space.
They wanted to establish another fire base in there, which I think eventually they did.
Yeah, I think I want to say 391 was the team that was tagged to establish a foothold there after we left, after we did what we had to do. So
And then like Taliban body count. I mean, were you able to see any of that?
no.
We were told 300.
Okay. And that's like all told,
there's-
small arms fire, mortars, gun runs.
And of course the bombs and whatnot too.
Yeah, bombs had to do a little bit.
No way to, you know.
And they would drag the bodies too.
They did, yeah. That was the first time we'd ever seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of when I went through to clear that wood line with those dismounts, blood trails everywhere.
Yeah.
Not a single body.
They didn't want to give you metrics. Plus, it's a a Taliban thing. It's a Islamic thing. They also have a brotherhood.
Yeah.
As much as we didn't like the Taliban, we did respect their fighting prowess. As much as they were bastards, and they didn't want to leave their fallen comrades either. So
Well, I think for
you
us,
got to respect them for
it
that.
was- I don't think we've ever seen anyone organized like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, the typical hit and run thing, or if we had hit a compound, whatever it was. I don't remember any guys that we ever seen before that that were that organized.
Yeah, that's something that comes up a lot. Is by that time in 06 and 07, Mike mentioned that they're kind of learning our TTPs and they're getting emboldened.
Right.
And they also know the ROE. They know how much time it takes, and they had a little playbook. And it seemed like they were, at least my understanding, they were a little more uppity in 06, 07. They got their dander up, and they were going after us.
Right.
Yeah.
We had to continually change our stuff, our TTPs.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. Is now just to sneak this in here if I can. So John Nagel, who wrote the book "Learning to Eat Soup with a Knife," he opines that the U.S. lost in Vietnam. That's a wild statement. Why we lost Vietnam? Because we failed to adapt. Now, my personal opinion is we won all the battles, we lost the war, and the battles we won were undermined back here by other factors. That's just my opinion. But my point is, he says, hey, the units that don't learn to adapt, they die. And so that's a big point. Is you had a team culture, and that's kind of an SF dynamic. Is we place a high premium on is adaptability. We as you guys well know, we train our guys and we tell them, hey, adaptability is an SF attribute. And what does that mean? Is hey, if your tactics, you don't want them to know you're going the same way every time. You take a different route home. You don't want to go right every time. You know, you want to mix things up so you don't start. They learn a pattern. They go, okay, here it is, and then schwack. So great point.
Well, it goes back to Roger's
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Robert Rogers. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was like, don't come home the same way you went.
Right.
Whatever it was. However he put it,
Yeah.
in the Ranger Handbook.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've paid for those lessons learned in Blood and Treasure, and so I mean that's as I didn't want to go off on a long tangent, but something that you guys, I've heard the story before, is you guys have said basically more sweat up front and training is less blood in combat,
right.
And one of the things that I just want to bring out for our listeners is you guys had the team cohesiveness. You guys spent a lot of time on the range. You guys knew the SOPs. Even being new guys, you quickly were absorbed into that, and that is what kept you guys from all dying. And then using your weapons and your equipment, with great lethality and skill to drop all that fine ordnance on your friends.
Well, I think it's going back to the basics too.
Yeah.
It's just having that baseline.
Yeah.
Squad attack, ambush. Those basics that you can flex on. You got to adapt them.
Yeah.
To the terrain, to your enemy, whatever. But if you have a good grasp on those basics, that's your foundation.
In 2003, when we went over there, of course, like Scotty said, we got the word that we were going to go, and we got cleared from Swicken within a few days, a week at the most, and then we were on an airplane with this team who had just got back from PMT, which we weren't part of, obviously. And I think the only saving grace for us was the fact that we had some time in the Army, you know what I mean, before we went there. Now, could you imagine if you got a young guy right off the street, going through the course, and that happens to him? And I'm sure it has. Yeah. I'm sure it has happened to a lot of guys. Yeah. How do they fare? I'd be curious. I never saw it, never witnessed it, but I'm sure that happened.
I think that's where we have to do the guys coming through the course now justice of, if they are those young guys, making them realize, hey, you're going to recycle. This is not the end of your career. This is going to make you
better
Green Beret. You're going to have to you need to see this again, because I cannot guarantee you when you get to your team, you're going to have a good senior. I cannot guarantee you when you get to your team, you're not going to be conducting split ops. Yeah. So if a guy has to see it again, I don't see it as a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah.
If you see that potential in him.
That's a great point too, Scotty, is a lot of guys, and we know, and I was one of them, I'm sure you were too, you get there and you're like, hey, Staff Sergeant, what's your nuts? Now you're in charge of those guys over there. There's like 100 guys. Yeah. There you go. And we've had, Medal of Honor recipients. Let's see, Miller, your namesake.
Robbie Miller.
Robbie Miller, right?
Yeah.
Same point. Case in point, Staff Sergeant Miller, hundreds of guys.
Dude.
Not a lot of experience. He gets there, and astronomical hero. Yeah, great guy.
Dude, I'm telling you, that guy.
World class hero.
Yeah.
And then but that's just like that. You got to get there and be ready to do it.
I had the honor and privilege of knowing that guy.
Yeah.
He worked across the hall from us, and man, that he did. He embodied. What a Green Beret should be. I mean, he did. Yeah. He was always seeking self-improvement, always trying to better himself. Yeah. He was, and all the guys on his team was just like, man, that guy. Yeah. He's the team guy.
Whatever was asked of him, hey, you're going to Rangers School. Bam, knocked it out, came back.
Yeah.
All the better.
Just always seeking self-improvement.
Never arriving.
Yeah.
You're not resting on your laurels.
I feel bad because I had one interaction with him. This is kind of funny. It was prior to deployment. We were a battalion doing some kind of pre-deployment stuff. And his team was all there together in line, and I was with my guys, or our team, behind them. And he walked in late. So he jumped up in front of us and got with his boys, and I chastised him for that. I said, hey, the line's back there, buddy. I was joking with him, but he went back to the end of the line. You know what I mean? And now, I feel bad about that, But anyway.
Hey, good on him, man. I mean, you gotta earn your way into the company and the team.
Back when he was a brand new guy.
Yeah. Oh, that was what I remember walking into that team room of just it. I mean, I didn't feel like I belonged there. I didn't feel like,
Me too.
Yeah.
That I was worthy of those guys.
Yeah.
I was standing in the team room. The team starts talking and not hearing a word that he's saying because I'm like, that's a Green Beret right there. That's a Green Beret. That guy's a Green Beret. I'm standing in a team room. Holy crap!
Yeah.
This is
Hey, and we often say this too. We give guys some, pointers. Hey, you're a new guy in the team, so things you need to expect. Yeah. I mean, could you wax on that for a second? Just kind of.
Well, for me, what I remember, 7-1 was great about not doing that.
Yeah.
About
not stand at parade rest.
Well, I mean, it was. Hey, let's see how he handles this dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like being on the Truman Show, where it's just like everything's like orchestrated around you, and it's just like, all right, let's see how Scotty works through this dilemma now, and and let's see how he comes out the other side, and it's like, okay, here's what you could have done better, those kinds of things. But for me, that was a good thing for me though, of giving me the opportunity, because now that's something that I look for. Is not looking at, an obstacle as the end of the road. That's the obstacle is the way. That's a challenge for me to get better. Yeah. And that's what 7-1 did for me.
I would always tell my students at SUT to sit down and think about what your short-term and long-term goals are, because your team starts going to ask you what they are, obviously, And also the big thing is, you get to a team, you're part of something bigger than yourself now. You do something to embarrass yourself, you're embarrassing yourself, your team, your company, your group, and the regiment overall. So
yeah, I think when we were all on a team, and you guys probably the same way, it was different.
Yeah,
it was really different.
Yeah, and it's funny because you said on 7-1, and I think that's the thing that you have to realize, at least I realized very quickly, was every team has got its unique character. Mm-hmm. And so you got to kind of figure out, how your team operates. Don't be thinking that the team across the street operates completely different. Don't even worry about them. Just kind of figure out your little world and what's expected of you in that world and try to make that world better. But yeah, it's funny listening to the people talk about their first days on a team, because every team's got like a little different way of torturing the new guy.
Oh, yeah.
Ours was always PT. I didn't figure that out. I mean, they didn't tell me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you come on the team and you're out there doing a 5K, equipment swim out at Mott Lake or something, and you're just thinking that's normal, and you're sucking. You're in pain, and you're thinking, well, everyone else is too, and they probably are, but they're just not pretending like they're not. Mm-hmm. And then PT kind of gets normal until the next new guy comes, and you're like, man, I'm noticing like every time a new guy comes, man, it's like this PT sucks.
They ramp it up.
Because everyone's just kind of looking at the new guy like, how he's going to react. And,
yeah.
He going to call uncle or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's that rite of passage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you conjure up a lot of memories I have. Now, for me, I didn't have the Truman Show. So when I got to the team, but I was enthroned, like, whoa, I'm actually here. I finally made it. And my team star was David Samano. Dave, if you're listening in, I'm not sure what you're doing these days. I know I caught a glimpse of you on Facebook. You were downrange doing something, but one heck of a team sergeant. So, and then, Dave reeled me in. So he gave me that initial counseling, of course. And then, but then he would have like real Army stuff and then kind of like non-standard stuff. So I had to learn like, okay, this is how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so one thing I wanted to also ask you guys, because you guys have a pulse on what's going on in the pipeline, right? One of those is maybe you guys could, and if these aren't good questions, Mike, just jump in there. But I wanted to ask one of you guys if you could go back and do something different on the team. namely yourself, what would you do as far as training or anything? What would you do? What would you go back? Your old self would go back to your young self, and you would say, "Hey, check it out."
Yeah, whisper in his ear.
Yeah, hey, come here.
I think the biggest thing for me is something I try and tell everybody, and it's that mindset, that difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Have that growth mindset. Be present in the moment. I never knew what that meant, until recently of being there and taking it all in and really understanding, what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, I don't want to say we take it for granted. We just don't realize what's happening around us and how that's going to benefit us later. Those lessons learned, too late, we go back and go, oh, that's what we should have been doing, But I would just like to be present in the moment of all those great guys that I got to serve with. I'm fortunate, that I can't get rid of this guy to my right.
Yeah.
But that's, I say I'm fortunate though.
He keeps calling me up wanting a job, so I'm helping him out.
Well, they say a sign of maturity is being able to learn from your experience.
Yeah.
So, well said, sir. Mature. What about you, Dave?
Well, I mean, for my, like when I got to the team, I didn't have a senior. I was the Bravo on the team.
That happens.
And I had to load out all the gear. I didn't know what to take, so shit, I took everything. I took everything, And then we were 6 months downrange, home for 6 months, and then back downrange again. So by that second trip, I knew what to take, and I had learned, and I had a junior at that point in time now, so I had a buddy, to help me.
Yeah, someone to pick on.
Yeah. And
And somebody, did you write his MCOER? Or did
no,
they stop
actually,
that by then?
No.
They used to do that.
That's a good idea. That I always thought that was a great idea for the senior guy. Now it's not going to be etched in stone because the team sergeant's going to have to, but it's a good practice for that senior to do that. And I don't. Some team sergeants did that.
Put some stank on that senior.
I did that when I was a team sergeant because it helped me out because now he was more focused on his junior than what he was actually doing.
That junior works for you,
and I didn't have to keep an eye on him as much, So and it was good for him, because some of those guys. They make E8 and they've never written an NCOER other than,
That's the other reason why we used to do that.
Of course, in school,
Because I was the E8 that became a team sergeant, and of course I had 5 years as a E8 in a unit, and I didn't know beans about that.
It's easy when you have a lot of turnover to get out of some of the practices that really help develop guys. Because we need to do the fast and efficient way, and that's not always the best way.
Yeah.
So, another good little tidbit for young guys, right? Try to make sure you're still developing your juniors and the guys, because eventually they're going to be in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so what about, if I could just corner you about this, trends that you're seeing in the Q course that you wish you didn't see? Okay.
Or even.
Guys.
Things that you
talking
think
about guys.
Because we just covered this not too long ago. With the
not the hierarchy, but like
like the KLEs and things, just things that we were noticing with the students, trying to kind of help them out to get where they kind of need to get to.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast you guys did, and it was I was like, oh man, he's right. Yeah, he's right. That happens. That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
and it's like, how do we get these guys? It's like you said, all of this on the podcast, all the stuff, now that's taken away from true social interaction. The phones, with, your phone, everything on there with the texting. People don't even make a phone call anymore.
Yeah.
They text.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. Yeah.
I text my wife in my own house.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's gotten. Yeah. How many times do you go down a restaurant and you see like a couple at a table and they're both on their phone?
Yeah.
It's just horrible.
My wife and daughter do that all the time. I'm like, what are you guys laughing about? What's going on?
They're texting each other.
Yeah, they're texting each other.
How about you?
Yeah, it's probably about me. And they're like, you don't want to know. It's boy stuff. You don't want to know.
Public speaking should probably be part of the course.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, that's actually an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot from
just a short public speaking course should be part of the pipeline. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, something we tried when we were OCs on SUT with a lot of the guys down, because they get in such a time crunch. the captains will take on the op order, just
Right.
to get through it, instead of letting junior members have that piece of it and brief part of it. And then when they get to Robin Sage, they can't brief an op order.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, when you get down range and you're that E5, E6, hopefully, you've briefed an op order before.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that would be like awesome to not allow O's to have any part of the op order in SUT or tax skills or whatever you want to call it now. Really, the only thing they should be doing is oversight and training and helping the listed guys work through that op order.
Yeah.
I mean, if an officer at that rank cannot do an op order, I mean, he shouldn't even be there.
Right.
But I want to see if he can train the guys.
Yeah.
Right?
I said this the other day to one of the instructors. If you think about that captain that's coming through our course, if he was in the regular Army, he would be in charge of a company.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
But he gets here and he's got a squad.
That's ridiculous.
If he can't manage that squad, man, this is not the place for you.
That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
And but an op order for a junior guy, it can be a huge it can be a huge thing.
Yeah, because you're back there with your notepad taking notes on him too. It's not like he's just giving an op order. I mean, he's also being evaluated while he's doing this thing.
Yeah.
They get plenty of practical exercises, and we try to, we normally use the officers to get them started for the first run, so to speak, and then I wouldn't have them rewrite the order every time. I want to see them briefing. Yep. So I would just rotate guys out, hand this guy your notes, look them over, get 20 minutes, look them over, and then go ahead and brief the order.
So you just get some reps.
Can you get up? Can you communicate? You know.
Hey, team leader, make sure
Covering his material.
Your alpha team leader is briefing your routes.
It's almost like you're saying. It's almost like you're saying if you're a Green Beret and you can't talk, then you suck. It's almost like you're saying that.
That's the only thing. That's the only reason
Yeah.
I got through ASOP. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
I could talk to people.
It's funny. It's funny because really, I think you guys are onto something, and it's just that we have to be able to communicate with one another, because the same thing was like we were talking about on the team. The team dynamic is just so different. No one's sitting around and just kind of stopping and waiting for the team leader or team sergeant to give instructions. It's just not the way it works.
Right.
When you're in a firefight or anything going on in a team, you guys are all talking to each other. You're all taking in information from the entire team. You have to be able to communicate. You guys are solving problems collectively. You all agreeing that this is what we need to do. I mean, communication is the key, really. It's really what sets SF, I think, apart from really the rest of the Army.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just very loosey-goosey. We're very adaptable. We have to be able to talk, communicate, train.
Well, think about it this way. When I was at 12 Bravo, back in an engineer line company, and you had your squad, you didn't have to worry about coming in the next day and having the combination changed on the door and your stuff sitting out in the hallway. Because we've done that. On our team on 7-1, we had a guy who did not belong on our team. There's a team for him somewhere, but it wasn't on our team.
Yeah, got voted off the island.
Off the island.
Gotcha.
And regular Army doesn't have to worry about that.
They don't do that.
They don't do that.
Well, explain that, because, I mean, that's very foreign to people.
Yeah. Well, it's
How does that happen?
it's like you said. I think the
That's why we say
there's three
selection is an
things.
ongoing process.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That first deployment, Dave and our first deployment, I never unpacked my bags. Didn't unpack them because I thought every day I was like, they're gonna fire me today. Today's the day, Scotty. You're getting fired. Yeah.
I think that's a good feeling, though. That is good. I had that in the unit too, because I thought at any moment they're going to say, "Okay, yeah, we saw you do that, and now you're gone, or you didn't cut the muster now." And I think that's good.
I'm not even gonna put on here the mistakes I made that first deployment, but they're out there.
Yeah.
And
I'm there too.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be humble, and you have to understand that you're not going to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, there's no
You're
such
gonna
thing.
make mistakes, but you got to be willing to make the mistake
And fix it.
and fix it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you do go to a group or a team or whatever, and your personality doesn't quite fit, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to Ranger School and you have to recycle, it's not the end of the world. Okay, just it makes you a better Ranger. Okay, the same thing. If you get on a team, it's not a good fit. It's just not a good fit.
Yeah.
They're going to try to find a place where you fit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You're not kicked out of the regiment. You're just, this isn't the team for you.
Yeah.
And that's like I said. the guy comes in and he's not fixing his mistakes. He's not learning from those. And he was my junior. After counseling, he's not fixing them. And he doesn't show up for work.
You send the battalion.
We can't find him.
Oh, I know you're talking about.
And you got to go to the team sergeant and go, Mike, this guy.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't.
Yeah, that's how our team ran too. Just like that. I mean, I worked for Rich Lloyd. He was my senior engineer. Rich, just a shout out to you, buddy. Hope you're doing good. And then everybody worked for Dave Simano. And then we had our captain, of course. He was our summer help.
Yeah.
Now, we had some good captains. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. All my captains, love you guys. Dave Coffey, Gary Brennis, good guys. But still, everybody knew that was Dave Simano's team. He ran that team. And, you had those indicators from your senior, and then you worked for that guy. And then, of course, everybody worked for the team sergeant. He's the guy that just kept everybody in line. But you had that understanding that, hey, if you screw up and it's just a trend, then your stuff's going in the hallway. Yeah. I think that's great. It's a high standard that needs to be maintained.
But it's got to be. But we got standards for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to.
Can I sneak in one little vignette here? Okay, so I was on ODA 154. I don't even know what that is now. I'll try to figure that out. But it was B Company, 2nd Battalion, 1st Group. And while I was on that team, it was a Halo team, we did a lot of jumping. One of the weird things we did is we went to Haiti. We went on the Haitian vacation, right?
But did you jump in?
Yeah, we didn't jump in. Yeah, we flew on a 141 over to Charleston and then transloaded everything on another plane and then flew down to Haiti and on 130. Anyway, while we were there in Port-au-Prince, along with a bunch of other guys, I don't know if any of you guys were down there, but you were like, what in the world is 1st Group down there? Anyway, there were Bangladesh and Nepalese guys that went, and they're like, hey, those are 1st Group guys, AOR. So anyway, while I was there, long story short, is I started showing my butt, and I was acting up and acting stupid. And, the team sergeant said, hey, it's a 7-month trip. It was about 6 months. He's like, I've just had it. You're going home. And I was just devastated. But I had showed my butt, and I had it coming. He said, this is your wake-up call, and I got a counseling, and I'm going to send you back, too, because I'm done with you. I was like, oh, man. The good thing is I got sent back, and like a couple of days later, all the Charlies had to go to Montana to do some civilian blaster's license stuff in Helena, Montana. That's where I met my wife. So it was kind of a.
You were supposed to show your butt.
I was supposed to show my butt. I mean, it was fate had it that. But anyway, my whole point is, after that, man, I was, now I did some other dumb things, of course, but it certainly got my attention. Yeah. And so I appreciate that, Dave Simano, for doing that. Yeah. Good team sergeant, a good kind of jerk a knot in your tail. And I've had another good. Let me just throw another shout out to Pete Gould. Pete Gould was my team sergeant C-110. Another time I showed my butt and kind of mouthed off in a way, being a smarty pants to our warrant officer, Charlie Moritz. Another shout out to Charlie Moritz. Best warrant officer ever had. Great guy. Yeah. One heck of a model American. Anyway, he found out about it. He said, hey, Paul, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen on my team. You're being disrespectful. And so this is your wake-up call. And you know what, Brian, that was awesome. Excuse me, Pete, that was an awesome. I had another guy named Brian Gould, too. Sorry, another good guy. But Pete Gould jerked a knot in my tail and squared me away, so I appreciate that. Team sergeants do that. Yeah. And it kind of gets you on the right focus.
Well,
so
I mean, you probably saw, the potential. He's like, oh, we can't get rid of the guy. He's too good, but we just got to tighten his shot group up.
I don't know if he thought that.
Well, but a good leadership makes a huge difference. Yeah. Dan Holloway was my first team sergeant, and he was definitely a unique guy, and he was old school SF. I mean, that was back when the NCOs ran SF, and he was one of those guys that it drove the command crazy, obviously.
Mike, tell us about the time he just had all you guys leave from an NCOPD.
Oh well, this is classic Dan Holloway. But you know, I don't know what was going on. I mean, there was a lot of complaining about this and that and that and this, and so the sergeant major wanted to talk to all the companies, and so Friday afternoon, of course, right?
Oh yeah.
Before the weekend, we're all up in the battalion classroom or whatever, that big get together room is up there in the battalion. We hardly ever went there when I was in group, but we're up in the big auditorium, and the sergeant major, we all get in and we all get assembled, and before the sergeant major gets started, my team sergeant Dan Holloway goes, his sergeant major, if 323 doesn't have any issues here, is there any reason why we need to hang out here? And you could tell that the sergeant major was like taken aback. He was like, well, I mean, Sergeant Holloway, if you don't feel like you want to contribute or be a part of this conversation, then you guys are just free to go, I guess. Wow. And every guy in that room was looking at us with envy as we stood up and exited out of there. And they were there for hours.
Oh, crap.
And everybody, like, we came in like Monday, and everyone's like, God, man, I wish I had your team sergeant, man. He's got such a big set of balls. That was classic Dan Holloway.
That's awesome.
There you go, old school SF, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things you could say about the team sergeants we had, but yeah, just to kind of just circle back around, you're talking about the team continuity and being a good team guy when you show up and go through the pipeline. And one thing I just want to circle back around is have good situational awareness. And then kind of remember, hey, you need to earn your place on the team. So I'll just say this, but maybe you're going to need to sweep. Yeah. You might need to be that guy that takes out the garbage. Yeah.
Well, that's the first thing. As you know, I came in SF. I was a young staff sergeant. I'd been in the infantry, and I came over. That was like the first thing that was kind of like weird to me. Was you go up to the SF area, and it's like the sergeant major and team sergeants, and they're out like picking up trash, and they're mowing the grass.
That was kind of.
And you're sitting there looking around, you're like, "Where's the privates?" And it's like you realize real quick there are none.
Yeah,
you are the private.
So you are the everyone is. Yeah. But that's really it's just really different than the rest of the Army.
Yeah, that was what Mike Reynolds. That was the one thing he told me when we first got there. Is like I came in, got everything done that I needed to do today, and it was like 10:30 in the morning. It was like, Mike, everything's done. What are we doing? He's like, have you done this? Yeah. What do you need done? It's all done. I got nothing to do. Really, I mean, just go home. I was like, Mike, it's 10:30.
Yeah.
Nothing to do. Don't do it here.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. But that's just, again, it just goes back to being that guy. If the trash needs to be taken out, take out the trash. If the toilet needs to be clean the toilet.
Well, on Fort Bragg, right? Twice a year on Fort Bragg, I think you used to have like range cleanup.
Oh yeah.
And third group would get a part of that. And it would always be funny because there's always some guy in SF that has like a moonlight, landscaping business or something, right? So he rolls in with the dually and the trailer and
all the gadgets,
man. So we're out there, and we're just knocking a range out like professional landscapers out there, a bunch of E7s and whatever. And you can see the dudes from the 82nd over there with their E-tools, and they're just looking at us with envy, like, man, you guys are like, how do you guys get all that equipment? It's like, I always bring it from home, knock it out,
Yeah. Did you ever get you're doing too good of a job. You're making the rest of us look bad. Stop doing that. Don't edge like that. Just... Yeah, man. That's it. That's basic SF stuff, right?
Yeah, and this is a guy, Scotty, is wearing a shirt that says train, lift, shoot.
That's right.
So both of these guys are really serious guys. This is the way it says on the back. That's awesome. But yeah, both these guys, they're trim. They work out. They got, and they have, and I just want to exfoliate them and embarrass them just for a second. But they wouldn't say this, but these guys are well-respected guys in the SF community. They are heroes. They would never say that. but they're heroes because they love America, and they treat everybody else like their lives are more important. Everyone else's life on the team is more important than their own, and that's how they operated. I think that's a great way to be, and team life was so good. They got out of the Army and they continued on with team life, and so now we're they still work around an ODA of sorts along with me, and I'm privileged to call you guys my peers and coworkers out at McCall at the Green Beret schoolhouse. But the factory, man. But hey, I think this was a good first shot out of the barrel. Looking at ODA 371. I believe your team sergeant was Mike Reynolds. Okay. Hey, Mike Reynolds, great job, man. I mean, appreciate you, guys like you. All the guys that we haven't mentioned on the team, too.
Yeah, well, for that trip for Tagab, that was Greg Solon.
Okay, sorry, Greg.
That, yeah.
When basically, I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I certainly did. I'm a better man for having heard your story. I'm going to take a lot of your stuff that's great, use it as my own, rip you off blind.
Of course, like any good SF guy.
Yeah. But, hey, thanks for coming on the podcast, guys.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you so much. Yeah.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Pinelander Podcast. If you enjoy our content and unique perspective, we hope you'll check out our sponsors, or better yet, consider donating towards the American Agoge Project. Blacksmith Publishing has been serving Warrior class since 2013. We have great titles written by Warriors for Warriors, so if you're looking for a great book, come check us out at blacksmithpublishing.com. Looking for some cool apparel, you can always go to the general store at pinelander1776.com. And if you're interested in helping develop our country's next generation of warriors, consider the American Agoge Project. You can learn more about it through this podcast platform at podbean.com. Until our next meeting, remember, keep your head on a swivel, stay mentally and tactically smart, physically and spiritually strong, and socially astute. God bless Pineland.